Hi everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome to my channel. Throughout all my life, I've been pretty active. I've been a dancer for about 22 years. I've been a Zumba instructor. I currently rock climb. I also do some bungee jumping and hiking. And I've also completed a couple races. Now, I wouldn't classify myself as a runner, not one bit, but I have finished some races. And I've decided I'm taking on a new challenge and I'm bringing you along with me. But more on that in a minute. Over the past year, I've really taken my fitness to a whole new level. I've been inspired by some incredible instructors and trainers, as well as influencers on YouTube. Some of those would be Gains by Brains, Nutty Foodie Fitness, and Natasha Ocean, one of the three. But anyways, I've been inspired by all of them. And then in my daily life, I'm also inspired by the wonderful instructors at Studio City's F45 studio. All of these people and more have inspired me to want to pursue a passion in fitness and an active lifestyle. So here I am. So here's a little background about what I do for fitness now.
I take F45 studio classes Monday through Friday. I also follow along some YouTube and Instagram videos from Train with Gains by Brains and Natasha. I also rock climb indoors and outdoors. I 100% need to climb outdoors more, like absolutely. But we'll get there. And I also occasionally run.
Which brings me to my what. What inspired me to start this channel? Well, back in April of 2022, I signed up for the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend, and I signed up to do the Goofy Challenge in January of 2023. Now, the Goofy Challenge is completing a half marathon on Saturday, which is 13.1 miles, and a full marathon on Sunday, 26.2 miles. It was quite a challenge considering I've only ever run one half marathon and one full marathon in my entire life. So I figured, why not do both in 2 days? So with months left to train, I was rock climbing one day back in July of 2022, and I performed a drop knee. And instead of both my foot and my knee moving, my knee just moved and I heard a pop, pop. So I instantly heard that and went, that's not good. So I finished the route first, and then I came down to assess what was going on. I called my physical therapist. Shout out to Cami, you're awesome, thank you. And she explained to me that I had a PCL sprain and a possible meniscus tear. Now, my knee was so swollen, we actually couldn't determine any damage that had been done to the meniscus, but based on the level of pain I was in, there was definitely something going on there. Needless to say, this is fantastic news when you're training for some races. Yay. So for 3 months, I was in recovery. I was doing PT work, and I also got to a point where I could start strength training, which really started feeling good. Flash forward to a day in October in 2022, I was literally sitting crisscross applesauce and a surge of pain went through my knee. So I straightened my leg, and then it felt like I was back to where I was back in July. At this point in time, I was less than 3 months away from completing the Goofy Challenge. And to be completely honest, I thought that was it. I thought at that moment in time, I was done. There was no way I was going to be able to do this races, and all of this was for nothing. But I went back to the basics. I started recovery, I started on my PT work, and I was also still working and hiking 20 miles a weekend, which is where I met a friend who introduced me to F45. Now, if you don't know what F45 stands for, it means functional fitness for 45 minutes. Some days are cardio days, others are strength, some are resistance, and then there's also hybrid days as well. So I was pretty much relying on my job and F45 as my running training. So January arrived and my mom and I flew to Florida for the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend. Now, I had never been to Walt Disney World before, so we actually went to the parks before the races, and I just have to say, it was incredible. I mean, it was truly amazing. If you've never been before, and even if you're the smallest Disney fan, you have to go. Highly recommend, if you go, reserve at least 1 day for each park. Now, this is also the first time I have ever been part of a RunDisney event, okay? And it was also perfect, okay? It started on time. You can also meet characters while you're running through the race, and sometimes during the race, they open up the rides for the runners. It was actually pretty crazy because during the marathon, at about mile 16, I ended up with a cramp from my hamstring all the way down to my calf that lasted through the end of the race. They truly suck. So having one last for 10 miles was just awful, okay? But at mile 18, we were running through Animal Kingdom and we were getting ready to pass the Everest ride. And a cast member was out front and she was saying, single rider, single rider. And no joke, I literally went, what? Really? And she's like, yeah, get on the ride. All runners, single rider. It was exactly what I needed at that point in time. I mean, I had already had a cramp for 2 miles and I just wanted some sort of relief. And what better way to do it than to ride one of the best rides at Animal Kingdom? Running through Epcot through those last few miles was also incredible and hilarious. Runners were actually leaving the race and stopping at all the different countries and picking up a beer, picking up turkey legs so that they could cross that finish line with that item in their hand. It was hilarious. So I finished both races and I felt so strong and so proud of myself. I mean, it was by far one of the hardest things I've ever had to do mentally and physically. And in case you're wondering, yeah, I cried for sure. As soon as I crossed the finish line for the marathon, tears. But after the races had passed and about a month went by, I kept thinking that I could do more and I needed to up the challenge, which brings me to my why. Why am I starting this channel? So the same weekend as the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend was happening, RunDisney announced that they're actually bringing back the half marathon weekend to Disneyland in 2024, which is only an hour away from me. So that's awesome. They also announced that they're bringing back the Coast to Coast Challenge, which basically means if you run a race at Walt Disney World and you run a race at Disneyland, you get a medal, which who doesn't want more medals? So here's what I'm going to do. For the next 10 months, I'll be training for the craziest challenge of my life. I will be competing in the Dopey Challenge, which is 4 races in 4 days, completing a 5K, 10K, half marathon, and marathon. Fly back to California, and then compete in the Dumbo Double Dare, which is a 10K and a half marathon the very next weekend. And guess what? I'm gonna take you with me on this journey. Not physically, okay, I can't afford that, sorry, but here on this channel. It's racing almost 70 miles in 2 weekends, flying coast to coast. And again, I'm just gonna say, I'm not a runner. And for some of you might think, oh, 70 miles in 2 weekends, that's not too difficult. But for me it is. So I'll be posting new episodes showing my workouts, running, food, because who doesn't love food, and anything else in between. While I'm doing all of this, I'll also be working full time, completing my certification for personal training and nutrition, and also just trying to have a life. We're gonna try. Now, I still haven't come up with exactly the training program that I'm going to follow. I'm sure it'll be better than last year's considering I didn't train at all. But if you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments below. But this is my plan. Now I've already registered for the Dumbo Double Dare. Well, technically I've registered for the 10K and the half marathon. Even though that is the Dumbo Double Dare challenge, I couldn't sign up for it, but that's okay. But anyways, if you know anything about these RunDisney events, they sell out so fast. So if you have any tips or tricks on how to make sure I get that Dopey challenge, please also drop them in the comments below. It would be very, very much appreciated. So be sure to give this video a like, be sure to hit subscribe if you'd like to join me on this crazy journey, and let's get to running. And yay! Mickey! It started with a mouse. Pretty cool also that Disneyland is celebrating 100 years of Disney. Okay.